Bordoff joins me now. He's with the Centre on Global Energy Policy and also the chairman of the Roundtable that we just had looking at energy trends, geopolitics, really looking at everything that's impacting the oil market. Jason, talk to us a bit about that Roundtable. You had a wonderful gathering in there, a very diverse group of people. What was the main concerns, the main issues?
We were looking at broad trends in the energy sector on the supply and demand side. We were looking at geopolitical risks and uncertainties, policy risks and uncertainties, and a lot of conversation about the energy transition and what's meant by that, and really this enormous gap between the ambition and the reality. The rhetoric we hear from activists and countries around the world and policymakers, but we're not actually seeing that change happen on the ground. And what does that mean for companies that need to decide where to invest?
And I guess when you look at developing countries and developed countries, there really is a big shift there, and it's probably not something that everybody globally is accepting. We all have to reduce emissions, we all have to do that, and perhaps in a way they're worried more about what's happening day to day, week to week, than what's happening in the long term.
Yeah, and it was one of the quotes we heard in there that sticks in your mind, someone from an African country who said, we're worried about the end of the month, not the end of the world. And they're trying to think about economic development and trying to think about how to develop their oil and gas resources for their value to create national income and sovereign wealth funds in the way that other countries have around the world. And the question of fundamental equity and fairness and how to think about our shared responsibility, because the emissions growth is coming from emerging markets, but the historic responsibility for putting emissions into the air has come from the OECD countries.
So it's a tough dilemma. Talk to me a little bit about the format of this. It's a more intimate round table, and really it was brought together. You had a lot of experts, and you brought your expertise, of course, to this by chairing this session. But how different was it perhaps to have more of an intimate gathering than just a bigger panel, perhaps?
Well, you're able to have a much deeper conversation, and so they really did an excellent job of curating a high-level C-suite group of experts. We had leaders from not just the industry, but NGOs and academia and policy there for this intimate and off-the-record conversation and roundtable. So really a good conversation, and I was pleased that the Center on Global Energy Policy was able to bring several of our scholars here to share some of our expertise.
Now, again, the concept of this, would you think that this kind of a roundtable to really get these people on board is perhaps a better way to go when it comes to actually looking at the detail? I suppose this is what you were able to share more so than we could have at a wider gathering.
Well, I think we need both, right? I mean, there's a lot of people at ADIPEC, and we need to share the insights and expertise with as broad a segment of the industry as possible. But the ability to take senior leaders within the industry, policy, the environmental community, and have conversations at a deeper level to really help share perspectives is really important. I mean, the way that industry or the environmental movement or policymakers may think about these things is different. The way developed countries and developing countries think is very different. So you really, to understand the complexity of energy and environmental issues, I think it's important to bring people together and really hear different perspectives and be open to that. You need a sort of intimate roundtable setting to do that.
Now, we're delighted you're here at ADIPEC 2019. It's been pretty busy out there, and a lot of people listening to, a lot of people exchanging ideas. How has it been at ADIPEC 2019 for you? And again, this gathering at this time of year in this place?
Well, I mean, it just does such an extraordinary job of bringing the entire energy world together in one place, but also even beyond the energy industry. I moderated a keynote session earlier today with Sebastian Thrun, who's one of the leaders in building autonomous planes now. He was a founder of Google X, who did self-driving cars. So to bring the perspective of artificial intelligence, disruptive technology, really you want to leave a conference like this and say, I didn't only hear what I hear all the time, I heard something new and different that helps me understand what sort of disruptive change might be coming around the corner that maybe I didn't fully appreciate before.